Unraveling Earth's history through underwater discoveries is truly mesmerizing, unveiling narratives of ancient societies, battles, and hidden treasures, enriching our grasp of our planet's diverse past and sparking curiosity. Join us for 15 astounding discoveries from rivers worldwide. Number 15. Ancient Sword. Back in October 2019, archaeologists were diligently digging around a castle in a small village called Shipwreck in Bosnia and Herzegovina. This castle wasn't just any old castle. It used to belong to the medieval nobility who ruled over the area. One day, as they were carefully sifting through the soil, they found something truly incredible at the bottom of the nearby Verbus River, a sword stuck in a stone. Now, this wasn't just any old sword. This was a relic from the 14th century. Imagine that, a piece of metal that had survived for over 6 centuries. This sword, which weighed just over a kilogram and measured just over 90 centimeters, was a bit of a mystery. This discovery was especially exciting because it was only the second sword of its type to be found in the Balkans in nearly a century. The experts classified it as a bastard sword, a type of sword that was longer and heavier than your usual one-handed weapon, but still a bit shorter and lighter than two-handed swords. These kinds of swords could be wielded with either one or two hands, depending on the situation. The sword's discovery even had people drawing comparisons to the legendary Excalibur, King Arthur's mythical sword, which was also said to be stuck in a stone, waiting for the rightful heir to the British throne to pull it out. Of course, unlike the story of Excalibur, we're still not sure why our sword from the Verbus River was stuck in that rock. After the sword's discovery, it was moved to the Museum of Republika Srpska in Banja Luka for conservation and restoration. There, it was prepared for public exhibition, promising to be a major draw for all those interested in medieval history and culture, particularly that of Bosnia and Herzegovina. Number 14. Bactrian Gold. Allow us to take you on a journey back to the 1st millennium BCE to a place right next to the Amu Darya River in northern Afghanistan. This place was home to the ancient culture of Bactria, and it's where an incredible treasure trove of over 20,000 pieces of gold and silver artifacts was discovered, a collection we now call the Bactrian Gold. Now, picture in your mind ornate jewelry, coins, crowns, belts, plaques, medallions, figurines, and vessels all made of high-quality gold. These were not just decorative items, they were remarkable pieces of art that told tales of Greek mythology, Iranian legends, and local customs of the time. And if you think the cultural mix ends there, you'd be mistaken. The artistic styles of these artifacts showcased influences from Scythian, Persian, Indian, and Hellenistic traditions. This astonishing discovery was made back in 1978 by a team of Soviet-Afghan archaeologists led by Viktor Sarianidi, a Russian archaeologist who'd been working in this area since 1969. He and his team found 6 burial mounds, or tombs, that housed the remains of 5 women and 1 man. These folks were likely important figures in Bactrian society, perhaps members of the elite or royalty. Each of these tombs was adorned with rich wall paintings, textiles, wood carvings, and ivory. But the real stars of the show were the golden artifacts, meticulously arranged around the bodies or placed in wooden chests. Since its rediscovery, the Bactrian gold has traveled to numerous countries around the globe, including France, Italy, Germany, Japan, and the United States. These exhibitions have been visited by millions of people, helping to raise awareness of Afghanistan's rich and diverse cultural heritage. More than just a collection of artifacts, the Bactrian gold has become a symbol of national pride and identity for the Afghan people. Number 13. Complete mammoth skeleton. Have you ever wondered about the mighty mammoths, those giant furry versions of modern elephants that roamed the earth during the Ice Age? These incredible creatures existed until about 10,000 years ago and were spread across North America, Europe, and Asia. Some even made it to South America and Africa. Apart from their striking thick fur, longer tusks, and smaller ears, these guys were pretty close cousins to the elephants we know today. You might think we know a lot about these ancient creatures, but the truth is, finding a complete mammoth skeleton is a bit like hitting the jackpot for scientists. Now let's go back to 2014 when an amateur fossil hunter in Idaho hit the metaphorical archaeological jackpot. While strolling near the American Falls Reservoir, he noticed something strange sticking out of an irrigation ditch. It turned out to be part of a mammoth skeleton. Quick to respond, a team from Idaho State University came in and excavated a partial skull and tusk. This mammoth wasn't just any old mammoth. It was believed to be a around 16 years old and had lived between 70,000 to 120,000 years ago. Can you imagine? Back then, Idaho was a sprawling savanna home to an array of large mammals. Fast forward to 2021, and we find another stunning mammoth discovery, this time in the waters of the Peace River near Acadia, Florida. Two divers found a mammoth femur, or thigh bone, measuring a whopping 4 feet long and weighing in at 50 pounds. But the river held more than just the mammoth's remains. The divers also found fossils from extinct sharks and even a saber-toothed cat tooth. Some of these incredible finds ended up in the Florida Museum of Natural History, and the mammoth femur? It made a middle school classroom its new home, serving as an impressive teaching aid. Number 12. Stash of coins. How about we find out about the amazing treasure troves discovered in Germany? First, we have the Roman coin stash. In Augsburg, Germany, over 5,500 silver coins were found buried near the Wertach River. These coins, called denarii, were the common currency in the 1st to early 3rd century AD. Now get this. The youngest coin in the hoard was minted at the start of the 3rd century AD, which means the entire collection was likely hidden away around that time. But why would anyone bury such a treasure? Well, the coins were stashed just outside Augusta Vindelicorum, the capital of the Roman province of Rhaetia, close to the Via Claudia Augusta, a major Roman road. We're not entirely sure why these coins were buried, but it could have something to do with political or economic instability at the time. It seems that the hiding spot was eventually washed away by a flood from the Wertach River, scattering the coins into the river gravel. This valuable discovery was excavated by Sebastian Geierhos, the director of the Archaeological Service of the city of Augsburg. But that's not all. In a completely separate discovery, we've got the Celtic coin stash. This collection consists of 41 gold coins minted more than 2,000 years ago during the late Iron Age. Now, these aren't just any old coins. They're curved in shape, inspiring their German name, Regenbogenschüsselchen, which translates to rainbow cups. These rainbow cups were discovered by a volunteer archaeologist, Wolfgang Hercht, near the village of Beitz in 2017. This was a groundbreaking discovery, as these are the first known Celtic gold treasures in Brandenburg, a state in northeastern Germany. The value of these coins in their time must have been astronomical. Number 11. Viking Sword. You won't believe this incredible tale from July 2018. Saga Vanacek, just 8 years old at the time, was enjoying her summer holidays by the Vidostern Lake, close to her family's holiday home in Jönköping County, Sweden. With the spirit of adventure flowing through her, she dived into the lake and unexpectedly found something extraordinary. What she first thought was a stick turned out to be an ancient pre-Viking sword, about 33 inches long, complete with a cover made of leather and wood. Her father, Andy Vanacek, a Swedish-American, was equally shocked by the find. Acting responsibly, he reached out to the local Jönköping County Museum to inform them about the unique discovery. The experts at the museum confirmed that the sword was a significant and rare artifact that was in exceptionally good shape, despite being around 1,500 years old, dating back to the 5th or 6th century. The officials from the museum and county administrative board conducted a couple of surveys at the lake with divers and metal detectors in tow. Their efforts bore fruit as they unearthed a brooch from the 3rd century and several other unidentified objects that could be related to the sword. Along with these, an 18th century coin was also discovered. However, the museum professionals said that more scientific analyses were needed to figure out the exact age and origins of these objects. Number 10. Shipwreck. Can you imagine coming across a 400-year-old ship perfectly preserved at the bottom of a river? That's exactly what happened in 2020 in the River Trave, located in northern Germany. This incredible discovery was no ordinary ship. It's a relic from the Hanseatic era, a time between the 13th and 17th centuries when northern European trading guilds controlled the Baltic and North Seas. Just picture it. A galliot, which was a single-masted cargo ship typical during the Hanseatic era, between 66 to 82 feet long, submerged almost upright at the river's bottom. And it wasn't an empty vessel either. It held a treasure trove of about 150 wooden barrels, each one packed with quicklime. Now, quicklime might not sound like much, but back then, it was a vital resource for creating mortar and plaster, essential for the booming stone-building industry. So how did such an immense and valuable ship wind up at the bottom of the river? It's believed that it didn't capsize, but rather sank due to a leak or possibly a storm. A somewhat tragic end for such a vessel, but what's really amazing is how the ship was preserved after it sank. The secret? A fine layer of mud that rapidly covered the ship, protecting it from decay and the destructive infestation of shipworms, a type of saltwater clam that can quickly eat away at submerged wood. Now, you might be wondering how this ship was found. Well, it was actually detected during a routine sonar survey by local authorities who were examining the navigable channel in the trough. The sunken ship was resting at a depth of about 36 feet in the predominantly saltwater outer stretch of the river, lying between Lübeck and the port of Travemünde at the river's mouth, leading into the Baltic Sea. After its detection, divers plunged into the depths to study the vessel, documenting it with photographs and videos. Number 9. Rosetta Stone. It's time to take a step back in time to 1799. Picture a bustling construction site at Fort Julien, near the town of Rosetta on the Nile Delta in Egypt. In the middle of the dust and the clamor, French officer Pierre-François-Xavier Bouchard stumbled upon something extraordinary. It was a large stone slab, which, little did he know, would soon send shockwaves through the world of Egyptology. This wasn't just any old rock. Etched into the surface of this stone were 3 different scripts: ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs, a simpler form of Egyptian writing known as Demotic, and ancient Greek. This was the Rosetta Stone, a royal decree issued by King Ptolemy V in 196 BCE, praising his own accomplishments and outlining benefits for the priests and people of Egypt. Now, why was the Rosetta Stone so important, you might ask? Well, for centuries, the enigmatic Egyptian hieroglyphs had puzzled scholars. They were like a code, waiting to be cracked. The Rosetta Stone, with its trilingual inscription, provided the key. Scholars could read the Greek, which allowed them to figure out the Demotic, which in turn shed light on the hieroglyphs. The real breakthrough came in 1822 when Jean-François Champollion, a French linguist and Egyptologist, finally cracked the code. He was the first to successfully translate part of the hieroglyphic text on the Rosetta Stone, throwing open the doors to understanding ancient Egyptian civilization like never before. Thanks to him, and of course the Rosetta Stone, the once mysterious hieroglyphs started to make sense. So where is the Rosetta Stone now, you ask? Since 1802, it has been housed at the British Museum in London, captivating visitors with its imposing presence and remarkable history. Number 8. Euphrates Underground Mystery. Let's talk about the Euphrates River. Now, this isn't just any river. This ancient river flows through 3 countries: Syria, Iraq, and Turkey. And it's been the cradle of civilizations and empires for millennia. But in recent years, something's been happening to the Euphrates. It's been drying up. Climate change, dams, irrigation, conflicts. All these have taken a toll on this historic river. And as the waters have receded, they've been revealing secrets hidden for centuries. Firstly, we have this video footage that was uploaded in 2022, showed a local from the Middle East stepping down into a cavern that was once hidden beneath the waters of the Euphrates. The cavern was dark, narrow, and incredibly well preserved, and the speculation about its purpose ran wild. Was it a jail? A burial site? Maybe a secret tunnel or even a treasure chamber? The truth is, we still don't know. But isn't that the fun of it? And this mysterious cavern isn't the only gem the Euphrates has given up. Other discoveries have included a huge Byzantine burial site in Syria's Raqqa province. Dating back to the 12th century, this ancient graveyard sprawls across the eastern bank of what used to be the Euphrates Dam Lake. Then, there's the ancient city of Talbas in Iraq's Anbar province. This city was deliberately flooded by Saddam Hussein back in the mid-1980s. But when the Euphrates dried up in July 2022, there it was again, waiting to tell its stories. And the Euphrates hasn't been picky about where it drops its water level either. In Turkey's Şanlıurfa province, a dramatic drop in the water level of the Ataturk Dam in 2009 revealed a city that was 3,400 years old, alongside other riches, an ancient fortress, and more caves. Number 7. Medieval soldier. Now, there's a story that comes to us straight from the depths of Lake Asveja in eastern Lithuania. Back in November 2020, archaeologists and divers found a 16th century skeleton, all decked out in its soldier gear. Now, Lake Asveja isn't just any lake, and this wasn't just any skeleton. You see, the lake is pretty close to Dubingiai Castle. Back in the 16th century, this place was a hotspot for all kinds of action because Lithuania and Russia were at war. So our friend, the soldier, was probably tied to the castle somehow. The cold, oxygen-poor waters of Lake Asveja had been kind to the soldier. His remains were in great shape, considering he'd been hanging out at the bottom of a lake for around 400 years. He was found wearing leather boots that still had their spurs and a leather belt with a buckle. And of course, as befits a soldier, there was an iron sword by his side. But the soldier didn't just have a sword, he also had a couple of knives with wooden handles. One of these knives had a cross-shaped mark on the blade. The archaeologists who found him could only guess what it meant. Now, the soldier's end is still a mystery. We don't know how he wound up at the bottom of Lake Asveja, but given the violent times he lived in, it's possible his death had something to do with the military conflicts of the 16th and 17th centuries. The Dubingiai Castle, after all, was a stronghold of the Grand Duchy of Lithuania, and they were locked in a struggle with the expanding Tsardom of Russia over lands that now form parts of Belarus and Ukraine. Right now, the soldier's remains and his belongings are being carefully examined and preserved by experts at the National Museum of Lithuania. Number 6. 19 Canons. Back in 2021 and 2022, in the United States, the Army Corps of Engineers were knee-deep in a project. They were working to deepen the shipping channel of the Savannah River, a major waterway that straddles Georgia and South Carolina. Now, as you'd expect, they were anticipating a fair bit of manual labor and muck, but they were in for a surprise. Now, the Savannah River isn't just any old river, it's a waterway steeped in history, particularly the American Revolution that raged from 1775 to 1783. During that troubled time, the British had their claws in the city of Savannah, squaring off against American rebels and their French allies. But back to our engineers. Nestled in the mud, rust, and mussels, they found not one, not two, but 19 cannons dating back to the Revolutionary War era. These weren't any ordinary cannons either. They likely belonged to one or more British ships that were deliberately sunk in the river in 1779. The sinking was a strategic move, made just before the bloody siege of Savannah, which ended with a victory for the British. Historians think these cannons were from a British ship called the HMS Savannah. This ship and some others were sunk on purpose in a place called 5 Fathom Hole. They did this to prevent the French Navy, who were helping the Americans, from getting through. The HMS Savannah sunk so fast that everything was left on board except the people. The cannons, which have been underwater for over 240 years, are still in good condition. This discovery sparked a flurry of negotiations, with the U.S. and British governments and the state of Georgia all in discussions. The goal is to keep these relics of the past in Savannah, potentially for display at the Savannah History Museum. Now, it's time for today's subscriber pick. One of our subscribers shared an image with us that has left him and his friends wondering and puzzled. They were on an educational trip to one of the historical sites in China when they came across this place. Terrified, they scrambled to leave the scene but managed to capture the moment on their phones. When they examined the picture, they couldn't believe their eyes. It looks like some huge monstrous fish. What's worse is that it looks alive. Sadly, they can't go back to find out more about it, but that's where you come in. Can you help us solve this mystery? What creature is this? Is this some new hidden discovery? The answers await. Remember to comment down below. Number 5. Bone tools. Did you know the Murray River in southern Australia has been home to Aboriginal groups for thousands of years? It's an incredible place filled with stories of the past. One group living there, known as the Ngarrindjeri, left a great deal of historical evidence behind, a lot of it being artifacts. One type of these artifacts is bone tools, which they crafted from animal bones like kangaroos or wallabies. However, an interesting thing happened in 2021 when a group of archaeologists from Flinders University and Griffith University teamed up with the Ngarrindjeri community. Together, they made a fascinating discovery near the Murray River at a place known as Murrawong, also called Glen Lawsey. This spot, nestled in the lower Murray River Gorge region of South Australia, holds evidence of human activities that date back between 5,300 to 3,800 years. You can find signs of hunting, fishing, cooking, and tool-making there. Among these finds, they discovered a bone tool, a bone point to be specific. These are sharpened pieces of bone that could have been used to pierce softer materials or even used as a projectile point. This particular bone point was roughly 8 cm long and 0.5 cm wide, tapering off to a pointed tip. Some wear and tear were noticeable on its edge, suggesting it was put to good use before it was discarded or lost. The team thinks it was probably carved from a macropod, like a kangaroo or wallaby, bone due to its size and shape. In the lower Murray River Gorge region, such bone points are quite a rare find. In fact, the last one like it was found in the 1970s at a site nearby. Number 4. Prehistoric footprints. Now we have the insane discovery of the prehistoric footprints found in Texas' Paluxy River. This discovery is not only intriguing but has stirred up quite a bit of controversy over the years, grabbing the attention of both scientists and creationists. Let's set the scene. The Paluxy River flows right through Dinosaur Valley State Park, a spot known for preserving numerous dinosaur tracks. These tracks belong to a variety of species that lived around 113 million years ago during the Cretaceous period. The standout among them is a large theropod called Acrocanthosaurus, a beast standing 15 feet tall and weighing a whopping 7 tons. But the Paluxy River gained even more fame for a different reason: the supposed discovery of human footprints alongside dinosaur tracks in the same rock layer. This theory first surfaced in the 1930s when locals stumbled upon some elongated and slightly blurry prints they interpreted as human. The idea was then seized upon by creationists who argued it challenged the geological timescale, supporting their young Earth creationism belief that humans and dinosaurs coexisted less than 10,000 years ago. One popular example of this claim was the Taylor Trail, a string of 14 prints that seemed to show a human's path within a dinosaur trackway. This trail was spotlighted in a popular book and film by creationists John Morris and Stan Taylor in the 1980s, but further investigations by both scientists and creationists brought a new perspective. It turned out that the Taylor Trail was actually left by a 3-toed dinosaur making metatarsal impressions while walking on soft mud. The tracks, eroded and filled in with sediment, had taken on a more human-like appearance. Critics suggest they could be carvings or composite tracks, where a human footprint was superimposed on an existing dinosaur print. Number 3. Buddhist statues. You know how stories often begin with once upon a time? Well, in this case, we could start with once under a river. You see, there's this incredible story about the Yangtze River, the longest river in Asia and third longest in the world. The river winds its way through China, including the southwestern city of Chongqing. Now, back in the hot summer of 2022, this region was grappling with a severe drought and a scorching heat wave. The Yangtze was not spared. The river levels dropped so low that an underwater island reef known as Foyeliang was no longer hidden beneath the surface. This revelation was just the beginning. On this once submerged island reef, 3 ancient Buddhist statues appeared, brought to light by the retreating waters. Estimated to be about 600 years old, these relics date back to China's Ming and Qing dynasties. One of the statues portrays a monk seated on a lotus pedestal, but the identities of the figures in the other 2 are still somewhat of a mystery. Given their location on the highest part of the island reef, experts believe that this spot might have served as a religious site or perhaps a landmark for navigation. Unquestionably, these statues are valuable cultural relics, a tangible connection to the region's rich history and culture. However, they're also at the mercy of the elements and human activity, which can accelerate erosion and lead to damage. As a result, calls have been made to ensure the statues and the island reef are protected and preserved. Number 2. Lost City of Heraclion. In the year 2000, French archaeologist Frank Gaudio stumbled upon an underwater treasure, the Lost City of Heraclion, or Thonis. Once a bustling Egyptian port welcoming Greek ships, it tragically sank into the Mediterranean Sea between the 4th and 8th centuries CE. Located near the canopic mouth of the Nile, about 20 miles from Alexandria, Heraclion was a unique island city. It was linked by bridges and canals, and had a grand temple dedicated to Amun-Gereb, the Egyptians' and Greeks' supreme god. Plus, it boasted a vast harbor and a bustling customs house. The city, steeped in legend, traces its roots back to the 12th century BC. Greek historians, such as Herodotus, mention Heraclion as a prosperous city known for a yearly festival celebrating its legendary founder, Heracles. There are even tales of Helen of Troy and Paris visiting before the Trojan War. Peaking during the late Pharaonic and Ptolemaic periods, Heraclion was a vibrant crossroads where Egyptian and Greek cultures meshed. The city minted its own coins, produced exquisite art, and attracted scholars like Euclid and Archimedes. Sadly, this flourishing city fell victim to nature's fury. Tidal waves, earthquakes, and soil liquefaction led to its gradual sinking. Forgotten and replaced by Alexandria, Heraclion's glory faded until Gaudio's discovery in 2000. The underwater excavation has been a thrilling treasure hunt, revealing statues, coins, jewelry, pottery, and mummified animals. The rediscovery of Heraclion brings its vibrant history back to life, reminding us of its deep connection to ancient Greece. Number 1. Bronze Age Sunken City. For our top-of-the-list shocking discovery, we are journeying to the mighty Volga River, Europe's longest river, winding its way through Russia and Kazakhstan. It's been a bustling superhighway for trade and cultural exchanges for centuries, with civilizations rising and falling along its banks. One fascinating era is the Bronze Age, between 2000 and 500 BCE. This age was transformative. Humans began crafting tools, weapons, and trinkets from bronze, a copper and tin alloy. The creation and distribution of these items sparked advanced networks of mining, smelting, casting, and trading. But the Bronze Age was more than metalwork. It also ushered in new forms of social organization, religion, art, and warfare. Fast forward to the Volga region's intriguing Bronze Age feature: sunken settlements. Thriving communities engulfed by the river, only to be rediscovered by 20th and 21st century archaeologists. This offers a peek into the Volga inhabitants' lives over 3,000 years ago. Enter the Samara Valley Project, an archaeological collaboration between American and Russian researchers from 1995 to 2002. They focused on the lower Samara Valley, where the Volga meets the Samara River. Their findings unveiled numerous sites linked to the Srubnaya culture, significant Bronze Age denizens of the western Eurasian steppes. These folks were mobile pastoralists, skilled horse riders, and engaged in chariot warfare. They lived in circular pit houses, often surrounded by ditches and palisades. Two such sites, Krasnosamarsko and Lebyazhinka 5, fell victim to the rising Volga and were excavated by the team. Krasnosamarsko yielded signs of bronze casting, animal sacrifice, ritual cannibalism, and hybrid figurines. In contrast, Lebyazhinka 5 offered evidence of daily activities like cooking, weaving, and pottery making. The team also explored the broader environmental and historical context of these settlements. They worked on reconstructing the Bronze Age's paleoclimate, paleogeography, and paleoecology. They analyzed isotopic composition of bones to understand diets and movement patterns, and compared the Srubnaya culture with its regional contemporaries. The team concluded that these underwater settlements marked a transitional phase in the evolution of the Western Eurasian pastoral economies. It seems the Srubnaya were innovating and adapting to changing conditions by settling near rivers and intensifying farming and trading. They were a blend of Eastern and Western cultural influences, a unique Bronze Age melting pot. Which of these discoveries was the most shocking to you? Let us know in the comments. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.